The biggest mistake of Elon Musk's life. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971, during the height of apartheid and racial segregation. The country was essentially a war zone with white minorities in full control of the government and leading a state-sponsored deployment of violence against black rebellionists. Elon was a lonely boy who struggled with Asperger's and would constantly retreat into the world of his books, like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Part of Elon's lore describes being in a state of constant bullying at school and was once beaten within an inch of his life, which would have a significant impact on the trajectory of his life. He wasn't a product of his environment. He was a mind already living on Mars. The segregation around him was just the way that it was, a backdrop of his internal calculations. When he left for Canada at age 17, he had dreams of changing the world, which would later be molded into his self-proclaimed dream to save humanity. But the reality was that he was fleeing from the South African military draft with nothing more than a suitcase and a hunger for the American dream, and Silicon Valley would be his North Star. Only 6 years later, after arriving in North America in 1995, with the internet being a vast empty frontier, Elon and his brother Kimball Musk arrived in Palo Alto with nothing but a dream and a single computer to start their first company called Zip2. They were so hardcore that they lived in their office and slept on the floor, showering at the local YMCA, and kept their server for the company running 24/7. Elon pitched his first company, Zip2, as the internet's Yellow Pages, the tool that would save local newspapers by bringing them into the digital age. It was a story of two immigrant brothers outworking everyone to build their first online maps and business directories company. This was the birth of the Elon as a workaholic myth, founded with just $28,000 in angel investment from their father, Earl Musk. The company was sold to Compaq Computers in 1999 for $307 million. Elon's 7% stake would net him $28 million at only the age of 27. And like any 27-year-old with nearly $30 million in the bank, he splurged by spending almost $1 million on an F1 McLaren car. But Elon actually didn't waste any time and quickly moved into his next venture. That same year, in 1999, Elon Musk funneled $12 million of his own Zip2 windfall into a bold, warm vision called X.com, a revolutionary platform intended to be a one-stop shop for all consumer financial needs, from banking to insurance. The storyteller narrative points this as the moment Musk challenged the dinosaur banking industry, risking his entire fortune on a digital-first world. However, the internal reality was a cold, chaotic war zone. X.com struggled with severe technical glitches and massive fraud issues, leading to a desperate 50-50 merger in 2000 with its chief rival Confinity, a company co-founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. This company owned a small but superior money transfer tool called PayPal. The structural truth of the merger was a story of corporate friction rather than collaborative genius. Musk's insistence on using Microsoft software over the more stable Unix systems led to a palace coup. While Musk was on his honeymoon in September of 2000, only 6 months into his leadership role with the company, the board fired him as CEO and replaced him with Peter Thiel. The company was then rebranded as PayPal, effectively erasing the X.com identity that Musk fought so hard to keep. The dominance of PayPal, even today, would give rise to the coining of the term the PayPal Mafia, which is used to describe the core group that not only got rich off of PayPal, but used their money to go on to fund massive ventures. Notably, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn, but also Peter Thiel and Luke Nozek through venture capitalists. These men alone would set up the blueprint and fund some of the biggest companies, not just in Silicon Valley, but the entire world. Despite being ousted from leadership, Musk remained one of the largest shareholders. When eBay acquired PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion in stock, Musk's 11.7% stake netted him a massive $180 million payout. He walked away as a centibillionaire at only 30 years old, having once again been removed from a company before a major exit. Surely, with $180 million and no company to run, any sane man would buy a yacht and sail off into the sunset. But Musk wasn't sane at all. With the deception of having his own company ripped right out of his hands, he vowed to become anew. He would soon sink the majority of his capital into a new company just months later called SpaceX. SpaceX is the ultimate case study of warm PR covering a cold tactical pivot. This isn't just about rockets. It's about a multi-millionaire who tried to buy a shortcut and then, when it failed, decided to build the factory himself. In 2001, fresh off of his PayPal payouts, Elon Musk wasn't looking to start a rocket company. He was looking for a publicity stunt to inspire humanity. He conceived Mars Oasis, a plan to land a small greenhouse on the red planet and send back photos of green plants against red soil. He believed NASA had lost its will to explore and thought this image would shock the American public into demanding a bigger space budget. The storyteller version is a cinematic odyssey. Musk flying to Moscow, sitting in vodka-soaked meetings with Russian generals, and being spat on by rocket designers who didn't take the Silicon Valley kid seriously. It's a classic hero's journey where the protagonist is humiliated by the old guard and returns home with a "I'll show them" type of resolve. Musk wanted to buy 3 rockets for $21 million. The Russians countered with $21 million for one. On the flight back from Moscow, Musk calculated the raw material cost of a rocket. He realized the aerospace industry's structural truth was a massive inefficiency called cost-plus model, where contractors were paid more if they spent more. Out of his $180 million PayPal payout, Musk committed $100 million of his own personal cash to SpaceX. This was a double or nothing type of bet, which exceeded his Zip2 and X.com risks combined. Elon's cold breakthrough was applying software-style logistics to hardware. Instead of buying parts from thousands of expensive subcontractors, which was the industry standard at the time, SpaceX would build 80 to 90% of the rockets in-house. He didn't build this alone. He actually hired mercenaries using his capital to poach the best talent in the world, including Tom Mueller for propulsion and Gwen Shotwell for operations, promising them a hardcore environment where they could build faster than at Boeing or Lockheed. The early years were a brutal test of this structural gamble, culminating in the 2008 financial crisis. SpaceX suffered 3 consecutive launch failures of the Falcon 1, leaving Musk with only enough capital for one final attempt. Had the 4th launch failed, this ultimate visionary would have been erased from the history books via total financial collapse, because the truth was that SpaceX was broke. But the 4th rocket attempt proved successful, securing a $1.6 billion NASA contract. A contract that came in on December 23rd of 2008 and is often referred to as SpaceX's Christmas miracle. This lifeline would lead to the first ever reusable rockets, where rockets could take off and land after flight, causing a dramatic reduction in cost, because each rocket could be recovered instead of destroyed, proving that reusable rockets could actually work. This revolutionized the industry, and later launching hundreds of SpaceX satellites into orbit, creating the Starlink division of the company. This would dominate the satellite internet and communications industry, leapfrogging land-based companies like Verizon and AT&T, which had been around forever. This transition from eccentric millionaire to critical national infrastructure that was partnered with the government provided the financial structural foundation for his next move, taking full control of a struggling electric car startup called Tesla. Elon Musk's entry into Tesla is the ultimate case study in how a warm investor narrative can eventually consume a company's cold founding reality. In 2004, Tesla was just a one-year-old startup founded by engineers Martin Eberhard and Mark Terpening, who had already developed a business plan for a high-performance electric sports car but lacked the capital to move beyond stealth mode. The storyteller version frames this as the moment that Musk, the visionary from PayPal, joined forces with the engineers to save the planet. However, the forensic audit shows that Musk entered primarily as a Series A lead investor, injecting $6.35 million of his own cash to become the company's largest shareholder and chairman of the board. While he was not in the room when the company was incorporated in July of 2003, his capital gave him the structural leverage to dictate the brand's hardcore direction. This initial check acted as a buy-in that Musk would later use to legally secure the title of co-founder through a 2009 court settlement, effectively rewriting the company's history to place himself at the center of the genesis. Yes, you heard that right. Elon did not found Tesla technically, but he became the official co-founder in 2009 and was chairman of the board only a year after the company was founded. In 2008, Musk was facing total annihilation. He had poured his last $75 million into Tesla and over $100 million into SpaceX. He was literally days away from both companies collapsing simultaneously. And with his last $30 million, he had a difficult choice to make.
One of the most difficult choices I ever faced in life was in 2008. I think I had maybe $30 million left. I had two choices. I could put it all into one company and then the other company would definitely die, or split it between the two companies. But if I split it between the two companies, then both might die. And when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating something, or building something, it's like a child. And so it's like, which one am I going to let one starve to death? I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I split the money between the two. Fortunately, thank goodness, they both came through.
The lore of Elon is that he took an enormous risk splitting his last $30 million between two companies. But the cold reality is that the NASA Christmas miracle to SpaceX freed up a ton of cash for Musk, leading to a collateral bluff. In December of 2008 financial crisis, Tesla needed $40 million to avoid bankruptcy. Existing investors were terrified because the global economy was melting down. To force their hand, Musk performed a cold tactical bluff. He told investors he would fund the entire $40 million himself by taking a personal loan from SpaceX, which was now flush with cash. This government-backed stability allowed Musk to complete a hostile leadership pivot. Using a crisis as leverage, he ousted the original Tesla founders and installed himself as CEO, effectively seizing total control of the company's future. The NASA contract didn't just save SpaceX, it functioned as the ultimate structural bridge that allowed Musk to move from a risky tech founder to a critical infrastructure titan. Without that December 2008 government contract, the Musk empire wouldn't be a trillion-dollar powerhouse like it is today. It would be a footnote in history of the 2008 recession. That government contract literally saved both companies. Tesla would go on to become the first ever super successful electric car company, where other companies failed from steep competition and litigation from the combustion car titans and the oil and gas industry. Tesla not only survived, it thrived. Backed by a Silicon Valley legend and a slick business model, Tesla would skyrocket in value. Most car companies would focus on what scaled, low-cost consumer cars that could be produced in bulk. But Musk wasn't interested in that. Running on the jet fumes of SpaceX's success, he wanted to build a car company that was cool. So he built electric cars that were more like race cars that could compete and outrace Corvettes and Ferraris on the track using electric car technology. But Musk was in a unique position. He simultaneously owned the first ever rocket company that had landed both reusable rockets and a billion-dollar NASA contract, and an electric car company that was thriving. These two things together could be packaged as giant companies that actually were doing something to help the planet while also earning a profit. Likely the first ever companies to do this at scale. He could now truly market himself as a billionaire trying to save the planet. Tesla soon expanded with multiple lines of cars, including the affordable models, Cybertrucks with cool names, and cars that could dance, had giant screens mounted in them, and new innovative technology that was not only useful, but stylish and super popular. By this time, his marketing was clicking on all cylinders, even using product unveilings in a unique, special way that no one had seen before.
Let's show the glass demo. Franz, could you try to break this glass, please? Yeah. Sure? Yeah. Oh my God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Musk was a literal phenomenon whose companies were famous for not spending anything on marketing, but instead Musk himself would make constant rounds on podcasts and talk about his lofty goals for humanity, space travel, aliens, and the future. This new style and vision of a CEO was magnetic, and his stock prices soared beyond belief, quickly making him the richest man in the world. But Musk would make one mistake that would almost cost him his empire.
I mean, it's legal, right?
It's totally legal.
Okay.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things?
Do you see this right here?
There's
Elon
tobacco
Musk.
and marijuana in there.
While being featured on Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast ever, he was convinced to smoke marijuana, which was still illegal on the federal level, which would cause a whirlwind that would be both bad and good.
Remember when you smoked weed on Joe Rogan? Did you get like a
one
lot of
puff,
backlash for that?
I did get a lot of backlash because it's like still federally illegal.
Yeah.
So no, it was pretty nutty actually. I had to, well, because so I had to have like random drug tests and stuff after that to prove that I'm not like a drug addict.
Really?
Yeah.
By who though? Who gives you the random
Even
drug
for
test?
weed?
The federal government, like because SpaceX has federal government contracts, so
Okay.
and it's still illegal federally. So like the SpaceX, competitors were like, hey, look at it. Why aren't you doing anything? Look at him smoking.
Tesla's stock price plummeted and government contracts tightened down on his alleged drug abuse, but Musk would soon rebound and build an even stronger brand around the billionaire that was cool and tried marijuana on social media, something that was before unheard of and unthinkable. Tesla went on to build gigafactories in China, build out solar panel systems to capture alternative energy outside the grid, and focused on building stronger and stronger battery tech to support the cars that could travel farther without ever needing to be charged. He also built a national charging station infrastructure that was no small feat to support his expanding electric car empire. But competition was steep. The richest man in the world was getting copycats and competitive companies coming out of the woodwork to copy his models in both SpaceX and electric cars, most notably China, who had a unique competitive advantage of being the manufacturing superpower that was literally backed by the national government heavily. On top of that, Musk was making enemies. Powerful ones, like Bill Gates, who doubted Elon Musk's electric semi-truck technology was even possible, who Musk famously and relentlessly made fun of Bill Gates, who was once the richest man in the world. But that electric semi-truck technology that they were fighting over, whether it was even possible, has still not been seen today. Years later. And also the rising super billionaire Mark Zuckerberg, who tried to use SpaceX to launch Meta Facebook satellites into orbit, which ended up blowing up on the launch pad, leaving Mark holding the bag. This might sound like another billionaire spat, but Mark Zuckerberg controlled social media, and he could shut down Elon Musk's marketing machine by squashing the reach of Elon's social media posts and presence. So, what did Elon do? He decided to buy one of the biggest social media companies on the planet, formerly known as Twitter, with the help of other billionaire investors, and he ended up boosting his own reach on the platform, where he now boasts over 50 million followers, and basic tweets that now get tens of millions of views. He renamed the company X, a nod to the former name of the PayPal company which he was kicked out of. Other notable phases include trying his hand at influencing cryptocurrency, where he promoted Dogecoin, and being hired by President Trump to clean up government spending through Doge, which has been met with significant aggressive undertones from the public and those being exposed, causing tremendous turmoil in Tesla stock. On top of all of this, Musk hasn't shied away from expanding his empire with new companies like The Boring Company and Neuralink. And as per the usual, his marketing is out of this world, with marketing ploys like building flamethrowers to advertise Tesla, or launching Tesla cars into outer space, putting Elon Musk's modern-day potential net worth at around $750 billion. This is, of course, if his SpaceX IPO goes to plan. And these days, he's consolidating some of his biggest emerging companies, bringing his AI company known as XAI, Grok chatbot product line, and data center infrastructure buildouts in line with SpaceX and the Starlink all under one roof. This could be the biggest potential IPO in history, reportedly valued at almost $1.5 trillion.
When you had that third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never. I don't ever give up.
Why? When critics say you can't do this, your answer to them is,
We've done it.
Elon Musk and Sam Altman are currently locked in a legal war for the soul of, quite possibly, the most important company on Earth. What's at stake isn't just OpenAI's $1 trillion valuation. It's the patent for the future of artificial intelligence and, quite frankly, the future of human beings. The race to become the world's first trillionaire is no longer being fought in factories or oil fields. It's actually being battled out in the courtroom. On one side, Elon Musk, the man who revolutionized space travel, electric cars, and so much more. On the other side, Sam Altman, the Silicon Valley kingmaker who turned a $43 million exit to the keys to the AI kingdom.
I am the reason OpenAI exists.
How much money did you give them?
I'm not sure the exact number, but it's some number on the order of $50 million. I fully admit to being a huge idiot here. Look, it does seem weird that something can be a non-profit open source and somehow transform itself into a for-profit closed source. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money.
Baked into the crust of this legal battle is some absolute juicy drama, one that includes baby mamas serving as covert spies and spicy secret diaries from whistleblowers whose skeletons will soon be unearthed. Speaking of XAI, this brings us up to present day. Sam Altman is literally taking the stand in an Oakland courtroom today to defend against Elon's claims. XAI is the company that Elon created after leaving OpenAI, vowing that the company would fail, to which he later turned around and sued them. Now, does Elon have a legal leg to stand on for this, or is this just a ruse to slow down the leader in the AI revolution? Because currently, XAI only holds about a 5% market share, and although the AI race is burning white hot with Google's Gemini gaining ground, OpenAI is still holding the dominant share. Elon and Sam Altman were originally co-CEOs, sharing the role. But Elon was the lead donor, donating about $44 million to the company, which would have gave him a 60% ownership stake versus other seed investors. A company that would turn out today to be worth over $850 billion, making Elon's 60% stake now worth over $500 billion, making Elon a literal trillionaire today. But here's the issue. OpenAI started as a nonprofit, and a donation is a donation, not an investment. So there aren't shareholders in a nonprofit. So he likely would never be entitled to that 60% stake unless he was in on the conversion of OpenAI from nonprofit into a for-profit. So Elon's lawsuit could undoubtedly slow down OpenAI big time, but not win him any money. However, here's where it gets interesting. Elon's $44 million donation was done with the intention to donate it. You can't then turn around and take that donation and go make a profit. It's a breach of charitable trust. As Elon colorfully put it, it's like donating money to save the rainforest, and your donation turns into a logging company that cuts down the rainforest. Now, as I mentioned before, this trial is filled with tons of juicy drama, from baby mamas turning to covert spies to spicy secret diaries of whistleblowers. But before we get into that, you gotta subscribe. Elon Musk versus Sam Altman and OpenAI trial has officially concluded, and Elon Musk has lost the case. I repeat, Sam Altman and OpenAI are cleared of any wrongdoing and are cleared of paying any type of damages. The trial itself lasted about 3 weeks, and it only took 2 hours in deliberations for the jurors to reach a verdict. The jurors had a pretty easy job because they did not have to figure out if Sam Altman or OpenAI had done any wrongdoing in the case. They simply had to check the calendar and realize that Elon Musk, well, he simply just waited too long to bring about the case, aka it reached statute of limitations. He could have had an ownership stake in OpenAI, one of the biggest AI companies, and possibly had a $500 billion ownership stake, making him literally a trillionaire today, making that the biggest mistake of Elon Musk's life. Okay, that's gonna do it for today, guys. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and wow, that was a doozy. There was a lot to cover, and believe it or not, we didn't even get into everything about Elon Musk, so we are definitely going to do another video, and you don't want to miss out, so make sure that if you made it this far, hit the like and subscribe button, and guys, I guess I will catch you on the next one. Peace.